Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya 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 Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astatara Satashi Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bom All gloriously assembled devotees All gloriously assembled devotees All gloriously assembled devotees All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 22, Text 5. We're going to read 5 through 7 today. Evamasam vratam cheru Kumarya Krishna Chetasaha Bhadrakalim Samanarchur Bhuyananda Sutta Patihi Evamasam vratam cheru Kumarya Krishna Chetasaha Bhadrakalim Samanarchur Bhuyananda Sutta Patihi. Devotees? Evamasam vratam cheru Bhadrakalim Samanarchur Bhuyananda Sutta Patihi. Evamasam vratam cheru Kumara Bhadrakalim Saman Cheru Kumarya Krishna Chetasaha Bhadrakalim Samanarchur Bhuyaman Sutapatihi. Evam, in this manner, Masam, an entire month, Vratam, their vow, Cheruhu, they executed, Kumaryaha, the girls, Krishna Chetasaha, their minds absorbed in Krishna, Bhadrakalim, the goddess Katyayani, Samanarchu, they properly worshipped, Bhuyat, may he become, Nanda Sutaha, the son of King Nanda, Patihi, my husband. Translation. Thus for an entire month the girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadrakali, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the following thought: may the son of King Nanda become my husband. We can read together. Thus for an entire month the girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadrakali, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the following thought: may the son of King Nanda become my husband. So there's no purport to this verse, but I'll just read a little bit from, this is from Sanatana Goswami's commentary. In a short period of a month, their desire was fulfilled. This was Margashisha month, which is Krishna's month. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this is his favorite month. Since it is Krishna's vibhuti, it was a good time for the vrata. Bhadrakali is the same as Manglachandi or Katyayani. The name also shows her good qualities. She was auspicious and a collection of happiness. They worshipped her daily, observing all the rules. They thought of Krishna, who is directly Lord of all beings. In worshipping her, it is understood that they were worshipping Krishna. Later it is explained that Krishna came to fulfill their request. Or, in a short time, their desire would be fulfilled because their minds were purified by thinking of Krishna. Or by nature they thought of him. And, as well, they performed the vrata in an excellent way. This is indicated by the phrases, they worshipped her daily, and may Krishna be our husband. One may object, the intelligent person should not aspire for what is difficult to obtain. Their intelligence was concentrated on Krishna, who attracts all minds. By doing so, they developed the highest intelligence. They were fixed in him because of the pain of prema. That fixation made them fixed in their vow. So I'm also going to read text 6 and 7, but I just want to make a few comments before moving on. So, Oma Gyanati Miranda Sya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamelam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamshcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's quite amazing that we're reading this chapter right around the time that the gopis actually did this. Actually, on Monday is Katyayani Vrat begins, so this is the month. And then also we were reading Govardhan Leela right when the Govardhan passes, so it seems like Krishna is really giving us that mercy. So we can be absorbed in these pastimes right at the time where it's happening. So it's very, very cold, and well, in Vrindavan, around like when it gets to December time, it starts to get very cold, and so they're going every day into the river Jamuna in the early morning. So can't imagine how cold it is. So we can just see the scene here, how they're all gathering together to observe this vrata, just eating unspiced khichdi and making a little deity out of the earth on the bank of the river Jamuna of goddess Katyayani, and worshipping her and praying, may Krishna become our husband. And the prayer that they were saying is Katyayani Mahamaye Mahayoginyadishvari Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi Pati Me Kurume Te Namaha. And yesterday Maharaj was saying that they were really crying out this prayer. They were saying, oh Katyayani, oh great potency. They're really calling out for Krishna to become their husband. Now in this verse, the main word that stood out to me was Krishna Chaitasaha, their minds absorbed in Krishna. So they were completely absorbed and fixed in their determination, may Krishna become our husband. And in the commentary of Sanatana Goswami, it mentions that they were, because their desire was so strong and so fixed, they were purified. And so, I mean, of course, they're already pure devotees, and they're already, Nitya Siddha devotees. But he says, their minds were purified by thinking of Krishna, by completely being focused and absorbed in Krishna. Their intelligence was concentrated on Krishna, and they were fixed on him. So I wanted to more, in later part of the class, focus a lot on this point of absorption in Krishna. So now we'll move on to text 6. Upasyutaya gotraisvar anyonya bhada bhavaha Krishnam uchar jaguryantya kalindyam snatum avya anvaham. Each day they rose at dawn, calling out to one another by name. They all held hands and loudly sang the glories of Krishna while going to the Kalindi to take their bath. Now this is a sign that there was this is not on a material level, because if this was on a material level, there would be envy and competition. No, I want Krishna as my husband. I want Krishna as I will go. But here they just calling each other, they're waking up and they're calling each other by name, and they're holding hands, and they're all going out to the river Jamuna to fulfill their determination to have Krishna as their husband. In Jiva Goswami's commentary, he says they shared their love for Krishna, and thus they held hands, absorbed in him. They sang his name loudly, since they were fixed on that alone, as if that word gave them consciousness. They were fixed in him, so they were all singing. While they're going to the Jamuna River, holding hands, they're all singing Krishna's names and absorbed in Krishna. And Sanatana Goswami says, not only did they think of Krishna, but they were absorbed in kirtan. So they were doing sankirtan. They were absorbed in kirtan. And at the end of his commentary, he says, because of affection, they could perform the vow with conviction. They sang loudly to bring everyone together, or because they became absorbed in singing. So they were also holding, Sanatana Goswami says, they were holding hands, and this could be that because of great affection for each other, also because of fear of stumbling in the dark, because they're going in the dusk. Is like the sun is not even risen yet, and so it's a little dark, and so they're holding hands to help each other from stumbling. And also, he says, they're holding hands to help each other from fainting in prema, of ecstasy, while they're doing their kirtan. So this is a beautiful scene of the affection that the gopis had for each other as they were going to the river Jamuna. Now text 7. Nadya kadachid agatya tire nikshipya purvavat vasam si krishnam gayantyo vijaru shalile muda. One day they came to the riverbank, and putting aside their clothing as they had done before, happily played in the water while singing the glories of Krishna. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this incident occurred on the day the young gopis completed their vow. So this is the day they completed their month, their vow, which was a full moon day. To celebrate the successful completion of their vow, the girls invited young Radharani, the daughter of Rishabhanu, and the special object of their affection, along with other important gopis, and brought them all to the river to bathe. That means that Radharani was not part of the group that was the unmarried girls that were going out. And so, but on this last day, they were so excited and so happy, they invited Srimati Radharani and other important gopis to come also. Their playing in the water was meant to serve as the Avabrita Snan, the ceremonial bath taken immediately upon the completion of a Vedic sacrifice. Srila Prabhupada comments as follows. It is an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take bath in the river, they place their garments on the bank and dip into the water completely naked. The portion of the river where the girls and women take bath was strictly prohibited to any male, and this is still the system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing the minds of the unmarried young gopis, awarded them their desired objective. They had prayed for Krishna to become their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill their desires. In Jiva Goswami's commentary on this verse, he says that one day on the full moon day at the end of the month, this event took place. They always went into the water since they were children. Thus, as previously, they entered. They played in bliss because they sang about Krishna. By the bliss of their singing, they did not become cold, even though they were in the winter water. Or they were blissful because the vow was now complete. They played in the water, singing about Krishna. This shows their absorption in Krishna. Again, their absorption. Without thinking of their bodies. This shows oneness of their minds, voices, and bodies. So, praying for the blessings of all the Vaishnavas here, that I can speak a few words on these beautiful verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, which the gopis are setting such a beautiful example for us of how to be absorbed in Krishna and fixed in our determination. So I looked up the word absorption in the dictionary, and it comes from the Latin word absorbere, which means to soak up, swallow up, take in. Just like if you say the cloth absorbed the water, that means the cloth completely soaked up the water, sucked it in. So absorption, that is what Prabhupada constantly tells us, that's the goal of Krishna consciousness, is to become 24 hours a day absorbed in Krishna. That means our consciousness, our mind, will just be completely soaking in Krishna, that there'll be nothing else that can fill the mind, nothing else that can fill the consciousness, because it will just be full with Krishna. And somebody who is so absorbed cannot even think of anything else, and they don't even notice their body anymore. There's examples of the Mahabhagavata devotees who they're so absorbed in Krishna that they're oblivious to what's happening to their physical body. And we'll talk more about that. But even on this plane, we can have a little idea of what it is like. When I was young, I used to love reading books. So when I would read a really, really good book, I remember that I would be so absorbed that I completely forgot where I was. I was just in that story. I was just so absorbed in the story that sometimes, my mother would be calling for lunch and couldn't even hear her, and she had to call several times because so absorbed in that story and completely not even present anymore, not noticing I was hungry, I was thirsty. It's just, you just don't even notice where you are. So this is the level that eventually we want to come to in Krishna consciousness, so absorbed in Krishna that we're not even aware that we are in the material world. Actually, Rupa Goswami says that the devotees are actually liberated even while they're in the body, in the same body, because they're so absorbed in Krishna. The perfection, Srila Prabhupada, so I'm in the class, I would like to talk a little bit about what absorption is, and some examples of absorption in our scriptures, and how can we come to that level, because right now, most of us, talking about myself, I'm more absorbed in me and my thing, and not so much in Krishna. So if there's like a seesaw on a playground, and it's like, this side is me and mine, and that side is Krishna, you can kind of see for yourself where in your life is it more towards you, or is it more towards Krishna in your absorption. And for a lot of us in this world, it's more towards us, more absorbed in me and what's happening in my life and my situation, and not so much absorbed in Krishna. So how can we tilt that more to become more absorbed in Krishna? So what is absorption, first of all? So Prabhupada talks about the perfection of yoga. And in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it's called Dhyana Yoga. And it talks about how a yogi is so absorbed and fixed, it's like a lamp in a windless place that does not waver. So the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. So if you think about a candle that's there in the open, it's going to waver because any wind or any draft will make that candle light, or the flame waver. But if it's in a windless place, then it will not waver at all. So a transcendentalist whose mind is controlled and steady in his meditation will not waver. And in this stage of trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material activities, and one's able to see the self by the pure mind and relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. It's so attractive to be so fixed and so steady that one will be actually so joyful that nothing can shake one anymore in this material world. And this is actually a state that everyone is looking for, to be so happy and so peaceful internally that nothing can no difficulty can distract us, but nothing can disturb us. Now the question is, these verses of yoga, Arjuna later says to Krishna, it's too difficult, the mind is too restless, I can't do this. But in the purports, Prabhupada is, always bringing in bhakti yoga, how this can be done very easily by absorbing our minds in Krishna. If we try to absorb our minds in a light or in something abstract, it'll be very difficult. But if we can absorb in Krishna, who is all attractive, that becomes very easy. In a lot of places, when we hear the word oneness, we often, because we're trained by Srila Prabhupada, we immediately say, oh, that's not what we want. We don't want oneness. But actually, in some places, Prabhupada emphasizes actually we are one in quality with Krishna. That means that that actually our goal is to become one with Krishna in his mission or his mood or in the service mood. So in that sense, because we're part and parcel of Krishna, it is natural for us to become one with Krishna in quality and to become absorbed in that service mood with Krishna. So these verses about becoming fixed and becoming absorbed is not too out of reach. Actually, it is the constitutional nature of the soul to become absorbed in Krishna, because we're part of Krishna and he is all attractive. He's all attractive. So it's not something that is impossible. It's very, very natural for the soul to become absorbed in Krishna. So now let us talk a little bit about some pure devotees who were so absorbed in Krishna that they were not even so much aware of their external environment anymore. Can anyone think of any examples of devotees who were so absorbed in Krishna that the external situation didn't disturb them anymore, and they were so just absorbed in chanting and hearing about Krishna? Wow, Parikshit Maharaj, yes. Parikshit Maharaj. Yes, Parikshit Maharaj, thank you. I didn't think about that one. Parikshit Maharaj, he was so absorbed in hearing that he didn't even, it says he was not hungry. He didn't sleep for 7 days. Can you imagine not sleeping for 7 days? He didn't drink for 7 days. He didn't eat for 7. He was just so absorbed in Krishna Katha that he didn't. Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada, when he was writing his Bhaktivedanta purports from 1 in the morning till, really early in the morning, he was just writing and he was completely absorbed in that. Yes, thank you. That's Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. That's a very beautiful example, Prahlad Maharaj. Any other examples that anyone can think of? Haridas Thakur. Yes. A very good example. He's being beaten, and he's just so much absorbed in the holy name that he didn't feel the pain. Of course, Lord Chaitanya said he was taking the lashings on his own back, and later he showed Haridas Thakur that. But Haridas Thakur was so absorbed in chanting that it was secondary what was happening to his body. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. When Maya Devi came to tempt Haridas Thakur, he was so absorbed that he was yes, and that's a very good point. Except to help her, so that's one beautiful point, that devotees are so absorbed in Krishna, but it's not that they are kind of callous to the world and just kind of just selfish. In all these cases that we're mentioning, Parikshit Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada and Haridas Thakur and Prahlad Maharaj, they were still trying to help others. And this is a very beautiful point that is in relationship to Prahlad Maharaj that I read in 7th canto. It says, from the very beginning of his childhood, Prahlad Maharaj was uninterested in childish playthings. Indeed, he gave up them altogether and remained silent and dull, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Since his mind was always affected by Krishna consciousness, he could not understand how the world goes on, being fully absorbed in the activities of sense gratification. And then Prabhupada mentions in the purport that it's just like how we can be influenced by bad planets like Saturn and Rahu. So Prahlad Maharaj was influenced by Krishna, the supreme planet, and thus he could not think of the material world and live without Krishna. So he's influenced by the Krishna planet. He was just so absorbed in Krishna. Then Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna, thus being always embraced by the Lord. He did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, and talking, were being done automatically. And then Prabhupada makes a point of a child. When a child is in the lap of its mother, not concerned about, is my mother going to feed me, or, is my father making enough money so that the child doesn't think about that. He's just completely confident of the care of the protection of his parents and just happy and absorbed. So Prahlad was absorbed in that way in Krishna. And then, because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly. Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness and jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy. And sometimes, being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. Again, that oneness, so we can be one with Krishna in thought. So he would, when Prahlad Maharaj is so absorbed in thinking about Krishna, it's like Krishna was there with him. He felt like he was being embraced by Krishna. And when Krishna would leave, he felt so much separation, he would cry. And when Krishna would return, he would dance in ecstasy. So this is, imagine being on that level, where you can actually, in your thoughts, Krishna's so fully present in your thoughts that it's like Krishna's there right in front of you. Sometimes, feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hairs standing on end and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. Because of his association with perfect unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. So this is the point, that seeing his purity, he purified others. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that he made his classmates devotees because of his purity. So again, it's not that they're so absorbed in their own ecstasies that they don't help others. So that's... So this is, thank you for all these wonderful examples of pure devotees. Another example that I thought of was, Arjuna, when Arjuna was lamenting because Krishna just departed in the chapter 15 of Bhagavatam, first canto, then Arjuna was so much lamenting. And then all of a sudden, he started thinking about the instructions of Krishna gave him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Thus deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. And Prabhupada says, since the Lord is absolute, deep meditation upon him is as good as yogic trance. The Lord is non-different from his name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and specific actions. So Arjuna began to think about the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, and immediately his lamentation, anxiety went away, and he was completely pacified and blissful, remembering Krishna. So Krishna is non-different from his name, his remembrance, when we read Bhagavatam, Krishna's there. When we chant his holy name, Krishna's fully there. And it is as good as Krishna being there directly. Now, this is an interesting thing that I was yesterday, on the way to Harinam, I was driving with my father, and we were talking about this pastime of the gopis and Krishna stealing the clothes. And here it's described that they were so absorbed doing kirtan and going into the water that they didn't even notice the cold of the water. They were so absorbed in kirtan and glorifying Krishna. But also they were so absorbed that they didn't notice who came there. It's amazing. They're so absorbed in Krishna that they didn't even notice Krishna himself was coming there. So imagine my father was saying, imagine, you have to collect, there's a lot of gopis collecting all the clothes. Imagine they're so absorbed they don't even notice that Krishna's there taking all their clothes, and sure, their clothes were not so far from the bank, so you had to take them all, put them on the tree. Of course, Krishna is the expert thief. Krishna can do things without others noticing, but the gopis, the point is that the devotees, when they're so absorbed in Krishna Kirtan or Krishna Katha, it's as good as Krishna being there present personally. Almost to the point that if Krishna is there personally, they don't even notice, because that presence of Krishna in the name and in the Kirtan is so fully absorbing, that's just as good. So it's amazing point that most of us, we haven't experienced that fully. I'm sure a lot of you have, but for myself, I just dream of the day that I can be so absorbed in kirtan, so absorbed in chanting the holy name, that it's as if Krishna's there personally with me. But we can get little glimpses of it. And association with devotees helps so much. So here the gopis are in association with each other. They're holding hands, they're going into the water, they're calling each other's names, they're helping each other. So that's also a very important point, that in spiritual life, we can help each other and encourage each other in this process. And that will help us to eventually come to that state of absorption in Krishna. And when we see somebody who is very much absorbed, it rubs off on us, and we also develop some taste and some desire for that level of absorption. So to end, I just want to talk a little bit about practical points of how we can start to come to that state of absorption in our Krishna consciousness. So some thoughts I had, and you may have some thoughts yourself, but one thought I had is, here the gopis set a sankalpa. A sankalpa means a determination, and their determination was, may Krishna, may the son of King Nanda become my husband. And I noticed in my life that if I want to become absorbed, let's say I decide tomorrow morning when I sit down to chant my japa, I want it to be a fully absorbed japa session. So what can I do to have that? So first of all, I set a sankalpa. Tomorrow morning will be my best absorbed japa day. So I set a sankalpa, and I pray to Krishna, my dear Govinda, please help me to fulfill this determination. So that's already a step. You set your mind in the right frame. That, okay, now this is what I would like to do. And I pray to Srila Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj and the devotees for that. Then setting a sankalpa, and then deciding what needs to be done, what needs to be adjusted in my life so that I can do this the best way possible to show Krishna I really am going to try my best. Of course, it's not up to us eventually. It's all up to Krishna. But what can I do? So maybe I can eat a little bit earlier in the evening, and I can go to bed a little earlier, so I'm more fresh in the morning. Maybe I can make sure my phone is turned off when I chant my japa. Maybe I can set up my area ready the night before, so it's all ready, so that when I go to sit, my bead bag is ready, my book that I want to read before I start chanting is ready, so I can absorb in the holy name. So all these things help to set the scene. And then finally, when we're there actually doing whatever it is that we set our sankalpa to do, is to be fully present, which is something that is difficult for us in this age because we're used to multitasking. We're used to doing a lot of things at the same time. So if I'm cooking, I'm listening, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, or I'm talking on the phone while I'm doing this and that. But absorption means one-pointedness on one thing. And that takes some practice. So absorbing in the holy name means this Mahamantra, right now that I'm chanting, let me just really hear it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Satyanandan Swami says, focus on the first Hare, and that brings the mind, it hooks the mind onto the mantra. And just focus on the mantra that you're chanting right now. Don't think about the future mantras or the past mantras that you did badly. Just the mantra you're chanting right now. It's not as easy said as done, but it's a practice, and it's amazing how when we set a sankalpa and we try, then Krishna gives us reciprocation, and we get some reciprocation. And this can go with the holy. This can be applied with chanting the holy name. It can be applied in kirtan. I'm going to sit and do kirtan. I'm going to be fully absorbed. It can be applied to reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So setting my book, and I'm going to read with absorption. I'm not going to get distracted by anything else. Oh, is it already 7:15? I was looking at that clock. Oh, okay. So thank you all so much, and pray that we can all get to that level of absorption. Does anyone want to quickly add anything to the points? I'm so sorry. I thought I had time left. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Apurva Prabhu is saying to become